Alright guys, what I'm going to do is demonstrate the difference, I guess sort of the obvious functional difference between the Alpha Wolf barrel and the stock Glock barrel. I'm going to use this 165 grain American Eagle, made by Federal cartridge, just as a way of quickly demonstrating the difference in the chamber tightness, at least with this particular round. One thing you can generally trust with factory ammo is that it's going to be pretty close to the minimum side of SAMI specifications. They generally don't run these at big goofy sizes or have big bulges in the case and shit like that. You run into that kind of stuff with guys that reload and they're just kind of making fast, hundreds of rounds per minute or per hour for plinking, and they might not be doing full length resizing. They might not be being all that careful. But with factory ammo, this is a pretty good representation of a properly made 40 Smith & Wesson round. So we'll start with the factory barrel. In the factory barrel, let's see if I can get some good lighting here. So in the factory barrel, so there it is. Okay, now watch this. I mean, it's super loose, like. It's terrible. That's good for, extreme reliability. Like, it's obviously it's going to feed very well if it's like that. It's going to, nice and clean. I just cleaned this before I swapped it out, so it's very shiny bore on this. Just a side note. But anyway, I mean, it's a huge chamber. That's way oversized. If you were to see some of the brass that I have, I can visually tell that the brass is super distorted. I mean, it's oblong. It's not even a round opening. Where at the neck of the brass or the mouth, whatever you'd want to call it. It's not even perfectly round. It's just, I mean, it's really weird. Like it's really distorted, and that makes me nervous when I'm running a 40,000 psi cartridge. I just don't particularly care to have anything blow up or anything like that. And I would like to get some additional velocity and accuracy, and also be able to run some of the you might say plus P stuff. So this is the Alpha Wolf barrel. You can see it's conventional rifling. Same, obviously same direction of twist and same twist rate as the Glock rifling, but this is just straight up normal land and groove stuff. The bore in here isn't quite as shiny as the Glock is, and I'll see if that presents any issues with cleaning. But it looks nice. It's hard to tell on camera right now, but the rifling looks to me to be very clean. For whatever that's worth. But I'm not. It looks very uneven and inconsistent in there. But what that is actually oil. There's spots where there's oil and spots where there's not. So it's not like that's rust or like a uneven finish or something like that. It's the oil is reflecting light differently than the dry finishes. So, yeah, I'll test this out and then I'll kind of go back and forth between the two. But watch this. It's So you still get a little bit of movement, but it's... Oh, let me see. Okay, now... I mean, it looks to me like it's moving about twice as much. It's pretty insane. So this is tighter for one thing. The chamber is tighter. So you know, yes, it's still moving, but it's not as much. Now at the moment, the only measuring tool I have is my caliper. So what I'm gonna do is take a measurement of that in a second. I think if I use light pressure, which is generally what you would want to do if you're using a caliper like that, you really don't want to reef on them. I think if I just use light pressure, it should be okay. These are pretty durable. I don't think it's going to hurt anything, at least not if I don't, you know, twist it around and all that kind of shit. But I'll see if I can get a decent measurement without scarring anything up, and then I'll post the results of that. Now the other thing to note is, let's see how well this can be seen on camera. So if you look at the feed ramp, it ends, you can kind of see how it's going up into the corner there at that angle where the light's reflecting. That's kind of where it ends. It goes barely into the cage, or into the chamber, not very far. Now, that's actually quite a bit different than the factory barrel. The factory barrel is it goes in. Let me see if I can get some decent lighting here. Sorry, guys. So you can see that the factory barrel there, it's much deeper into the chamber, and that unsupported section extends there. That's a good shot of it. You can see that dark area around the feed ramp. That whole area is back. That dark, almost half the freaking case head, probably 40% of the case head or more, is that's all past the web of the case, except maybe in the far corners. But to me, it looks like about 25 to 30% of the case is not being supported by the walls of the chamber in the webbing of the brass area. It sticks out quite a bit. Let me try and... Oh shit! Let me try. I'm gonna try and show this on camera. It's probably gonna be hard to see though, so I don't know. I mean, you can kind of see. It's kind of just hanging out. Like there's a lot that isn't being covered. Quite a lot. No, that's again much different than the Alpha Wolf. The Alpha Wolf is nice and tight to the rim of the, to the end of the case head there, all the way around, except basically right at the feed ramp. You can see how it's about the same, maybe the same depth, but it's a much smaller area. Like it's just way smaller, which I don't know. I'll have to shoot them, but you can see how the right in front of the sort of gap for the extractor. I forget the terminology of that, but that would be the widest point at the case body. That's nice and tight all the way around the chamber, it's like flush with the breech face, or I guess well, the breech face would be on the slide, but anyway. So it's pretty. Oh man, I wish I could do better lighting than this. It's pretty good. I'm pretty happy with this. It's somewhat difficult to show on camera, but it's significantly better. But it's not what I would call a match chamber. It should still function when the gun is dirty, when the gun is very dirty, when the ammo is dirty or less than ideally manufactured. For instance, if I was using some half-ass reloads, like apocalypse type situations where my half my equipment is not in great shape or something, it if things aren't perfect, it should still feed and chamber things, but it is much better for the brass and safety, I would say, in general. I mean, there's a gap running all the way around the, I guess, shoulder of the cartridge, for lack of a better word. I keep forgetting what that word is, but there's a gap running all the way around this, and the Alpha Wolf does not have that. It's much better. So anyway, I just figured I would show you guys that, and in a few minutes here, I think the Loctite will be set. I put some Loctite on the front sight. There's my hops, whatever the fuck you want to call it, and bore snake. I put some Loctite on the front tritium sight and used my caliper to square it to the slide of the gun. So I Loctited the screw on the front sight, which I did not do yesterday when I installed them, just because I didn't really want to use any Loctite until I was a little bit more certain that I was going to keep them on there. And then the rear sight I have yet to Loctite. I just visually centered it yesterday, which was fairly easy, and then I sort of how would you say? I used the set screws. There's 2 set screws in the blade of the sight. Well, here, I'll just, you know what, I'll just go, well, no, I'll make another video about that in a few minutes. But yeah, anyway, I did not use Loctite on the sights yesterday, so I set the front one very square. I used a, calibrated, 90-90, surface to make sure that the front sight was pointing straight on the slide, and then Loctited the screw. So that shouldn't be going anywhere in well, next time I shoot it. And then oh, and I got the trigger mounted too, and I'm waiting for the Loctite to dry on the pre-travel screw for that. But I'll talk to you guys more about that other stuff in a little bit. I'm probably going to go burn one and give the Loctite some time to dry, and then I'll shoot another video. So talk to you later, guys.